Another episode of Sloppy Saturdays. Today, as I am currently recording this episode, we are 6 weeks out from our first Saturday of college football. We have been telling you guys it has been creeping upon us. Now, if you guys are new viewers here, Sloppy Saturdays, we cover all college football. We get 4 to 5 videos out to you guys, episodes out to you guys a week, no matter where you're listening on. This is the place for college football. If you need to learn more about certain players, you need more analysis on certain teams you're not familiar with, this is the place to get into college football. Now, today, we are talking about the Michigan QB situation. We are talking about if Bryce Underwood is going to be the day one starter for Michigan. Now, if you guys aren't familiar with us, we made a video about a month ago on QB battles across the country, top QB battles across the country, our predictions on who's going to win the battles. And we left Michigan off this video. I left Michigan off this video because I thought it was pretty well known that Bryce Underwood was going to be the starter for Michigan. And I think it's still that way. I think Bryce Underwood is definitely the clear-cut favorite. And I'm going to discuss why in this episode, why I believe this. But again, when you're talking about true freshman quarterbacks, no matter who they are, first of all, it's so rare that they start day one for a program. But not only that, even throughout the whole offseason, even in a battle that I think Bryce Underwood is by far the most talented guy in this room, it is never 100% certain that a true freshman quarterback is going to start day one. But let's get right into it. I believe Bryce Underwood has to start for this Michigan team. When you look at this Michigan QB room, the only person that could really compete with him, in my opinion, for the starting job is Mikey Keene out of Fresno State, the grad transfer. Then you have Jaden Davis in this room as well, who is a freshman. If they're going to start a freshman, it's going to be Bryce Underwood. Then you have Davis Warren, who we saw last year. He was absolutely horrible. I don't even think he's in the race. And Chase Herbstreit, who I don't think is in the race at all. So it's really between Bryce Underwood and Mikey Keene. Now, when you look at this Michigan schedule, I think this Michigan schedule has a ton of opportunity. They have a chance to definitely make the college football playoffs. And it's going to be within Michigan's hands if they want to go with an experienced starter in Mikey Keene or a guy with more upside in Bryce Underwood. I believe Mikey Keene is definitely in this room for a reason. Any QB room, when you're talking about top QB rooms in the country, all the way to the NFL, you definitely have to have a veteran in place. Even if Mikey Keene never starts a game for Michigan, he definitely is a guy that Bryce Underwood could learn under, talk to for sure. I mean, Mikey Keene is a guy that had nearly 6,000 total passing yards in the last 2 seasons. Why I think it definitely can't be Mikey Keene, and I think it has to be Bryce Underwood, is because when you look at Bryce Underwood as a talent and what he brings to the table, I just think based off of ceiling and what this guy could bring, it's just so far different than Mikey Keene. We talked about a QB battle in an episode before when we were talking about Kaden Salter and Juju Lewis, and I had the complete opposite opinion. I thought Kaden Salter should definitely start. But when you look at what this Michigan team brought in with Bryce Underwood, and I get it, you're paying Bryce Underwood $12 million. You're not going to be able to bring in another top transfer veteran. But when you look at the gap in talent in this room between Bryce Underwood and everything else, even Bryce Underwood learning throughout his freshman year, Bryce Underwood is the best option. When you look at this offense, it is a rushing offense. And I think the biggest thing if Bryce Underwood starts is going to be Justice Haynes. I think Justice Haynes is one of the best transfer offensive players in the country. Michigan stolen from Alabama. We know Michigan the last 5 to 10 years as a rush-first offense. And I think Justin Haynes is going to be one of the best backs in the country and absolutely thrive on this offense. Now, when you compare Bryce Underwood to Mikey Keene is a guy every single year of his college football career, he finished with negative rushing totals. Bryce Underwood is a guy that's 6'4" that can run the football. In a rush-first offense the last 10 years, Bryce Underwood at his floor is going to bring a higher upside than anybody else in this QB room. That's why I think he should definitely start week one. But not only that, we talked about briefly the schedule, how much opportunity it has. You're going to need a guy that his ceiling is going to be able to bring you to the college football playoffs, especially with a schedule with this much opportunity that we're going to get into. But I feel like in the RPO game, you're going to need a rushing quarterback. And Bryce Underwood, who's 6'4", fast as well, like you're going to need rushing upside in this Michigan QB room. I think that's the case because when you look at this receiver room as well, this receiver room is kind of lackluster. When you look at Donovan McCulley, Frederick Moore, Anthony Simpson, I think the best chance of somebody to break out of this Michigan room is Donovan McCulley, the transfer from Indiana. He had nearly 700 yards, 3 touchdowns on a very explosive offense. But again, you're talking about Anthony Simpson out of UMass. He had about 500 yards. Again, not a lot of upside there. Frederick Moore, the junior, again, 100 yards in Michigan last year. We know Michigan definitely was passing the ball probably the least out of any powerhouse school in the country. So, again, there's not a lot of options in this receiving room. And it's a rush first offense. I think you need the guy with the highest rushing upside in Bryce Underwood. And like I said, the talent, the gap is just so far deep between anybody else in this room. Now, when you look at Bryce Underwood, we're going to get into the schedule. It's definitely not going to be smooth sailing for Bryce Underwood right away. When you look at the games that he's going to play Oklahoma in week 2, which is going to be a true test. We mentioned again that this receiver room is very lackluster. And also in the first 5 weeks, he's not going to have his coach as well. His coach is going to be suspended for a couple of games as well. So he's going to face a lot of challenges. It's going to be very interesting to see how he comes into this Michigan offense. But like I said, this Michigan offense being a run-first team, I think he could ease into this offense and they could take a lot of pressure off of him in this running back room with this offensive line. Now, let's get into this Michigan schedule and talk about what I think Bryce Underwood needs to do this season to possibly make the college football playoffs and to get off on a hot start. Now, the one thing I do like with Bryce Underwood coming in, week 1, he does face New Mexico, and Michigan is a 34.5-point favorite. So he does have at least one game to ease himself in to the college football season. And people may say, one game, what's the big deal in New Mexico? Again, your first game, taking your first snap in college football, I like that it's a game that he could ease into. But next game, we talked about it, they face Oklahoma at Oklahoma. That's going to be a true test. Oklahoma had a great offseason. They committed to Venables. They have possibly the best transfer in the country in John Mateer, an SEC matchup at Oklahoma. That's going to be rocking. Again, that's going to be his welcome to college football moment. That's going to be a true test for him. Then they play Central Michigan. Again, that should be a very easy game for them. The thing I don't like about this Michigan schedule, especially in the first 5 weeks for Bryce Underwood, we talked about how he's at Oklahoma. After Central Michigan, he's going to be at Nebraska. Then they do have a home game against Wisconsin, but then they're going to be at USC as well. So when you're talking about 3 of their toughest matches of the season, they're away, and it comes in their first 5 weeks. This is going to be a true challenge for Bryce Underwood. Then after that, their schedule does get a little lighter. They play Washington at home. Again, this isn't going to be a gimme game at all with Demond Williams. And also, I do expect Washington to improve a little bit this year. They play Michigan State at Michigan State. Again, a rivalry type game, but I still expect Michigan to blow up Michigan State. I talked about how I do like Aiden Child this year, but again, I do expect Michigan to be a better team. Purdue at Michigan, expect Michigan to definitely win that. Michigan at Northwestern, expect Michigan to blow out that. Michigan at Maryland, I expect Michigan to win that, but Maryland, again, has been a decent team in the Big Ten the last couple of years. And then you have Ohio State, Michigan to end the season. At least that is at Michigan. And again, we could talk about, we definitely think Ohio State is a better team, which I have said in a previous episode, but you got to give respect to Michigan. They have dominated that rivalry in the last 5 years. And Ohio State actually is only a 5.5-point spread. They have that out. So, again, they're giving Michigan a true chance. So, again, like I said, for Bryce Underwood, when you look at this Michigan schedule, they really lucked out, in my opinion. Again, they're not playing Penn State. They're not playing Oregon. The best team they play in the Big Ten obviously is Ohio State, but I feel like they're only playing one elite team in the Big Ten. But again, they do have a lot of toss-up matchups in this schedule. But outside of Ohio State, which even then I do believe that is a winnable game for them, you could argue they have winnable games every single matchup in their schedule. The biggest thing, like I said, for Bryce Underwood is getting his feet set in this first 5 weeks. Like we said, they're going to play Oklahoma week 2. They're going to play Nebraska. They're going to play USC. And those games are all going to be away. So, again, like I said, I came on here to say I don't think this should be a QB battle at all. I think Bryce Underwood has by far the highest upside in this QB room, by far the most talent in this QB room. But not only that, his floor as a runner in a Michigan rush-first offense is going to give them a higher ceiling than any quarterback in this room. So it's going to be very interesting to see what Bryce Underwood does. And in a very, what I believe is a favorable Michigan schedule, where, again, the best team they play is Ohio State. But outside of that, I don't think they play another elite team on their schedule. They play some very good teams, but I don't think another elite team they play on the schedule. They have a path to the college football playoffs. The biggest thing for this Michigan team, like I said, in the first 5 weeks between Oklahoma, Nebraska, and USC, they got to come out with at least 2 out of 3 wins minimum. They got to take 2 out of 3 games. That's how they have a clear path to the college football playoffs. If Bryce Underwood is ready for these matchups, if he's not, it could be very tough for this Michigan team as well. But they definitely have a path to make the college football playoffs. They're definitely going to be far improved last year, no matter what Bryce Underwood is, compared to what they were rolling out last year with Alex Orji and Davis Warren. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this goes. We're going to be covering Bryce Underwood all season. A guy as hyped up as him, he's going to be on our channel all season long. So if you're a Michigan fan, or if you're a guy that's just intrigued by Bryce Underwood, keep checking back for this channel. We'll get out videos for you guys. That wraps up this episode of Sloppy Saturdays, and we are out.